everyone, and it's Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. I had to think about what day it was. It's been a long week and a long day. So happy Wednesday. Today we started our new lesson, lesson 15. It is still area. Lesson 14 was our introduction into area, and we started out small by counting squares in our shapes. Well, now lesson 15 is adding another level to that. We're going to now start looking at multiplying the length and the width to get the area now. So today was just a beginning lesson of that, so we didn't get into much multiplication. They were more so just explaining how the multiplication and the counting of squares can connect, and you will still get the same area. So we're going to go ahead and get into it. Our homework today begins on page 317. Let me move this to the side so I won't block the board. So it starts on page 317. Again, we do vocabulary in class. So 1 was already done in class, and now we're beginning with number 2. So number 2 says, Manny skip counts by 4s 3 times to find the area of the rectangle. Okay, so when they say he skipped count by 4s 3 times, that means he was counting by 4s because and 3 times mean he has 3 rows. And it was 4 in each row. So it says Lee multiplies the length of the rectangle by the width. They both say the area of the rectangle is 12 square units. Explain why the 2 methods give the same answer. So first of all, let's look at what each person did. So, Miss Zimmer forgot to put her marker on. Let me put my little marker on. I hope the board doesn't, that's what I didn't want to happen. Okay, let me get that off screen. And then I have to readjust. 1 second, guys. Okay, so there it is. Oh, now I'm on the wrong page. Okay, so give me a second, and I'm gonna go back to the right page and reset it up, because I forgot to put my marker on, but that's okay. It'll only take me a minute. There we go. So first of all, let's look at what each person did. So Manny skip counted by 4 3 times to find his area. So what that basically means, today we were looking at the rectangles, but they wanted us to look at it like an array. Our kids are used to doing arrays. Arrays, we multiply with arrays. That's how the multiplication is going to tie in with the rectangles and the squares on the inside, because they want you to look at this as if it's an array. So with an array, we would say rows. Remember, rows go side to side, left and right, or right to left, it doesn't matter. And our columns, they go up and down. So we would say that there are 3 rows, which is why we have 3 times, and then we have 4 in each row, or 4 columns. So that means we would have skip counting by 4. Sorry, my mind went blank when I was trying to erase. So we are skip counting by 4. So that's what he did. He skip counted by 4s 3 times, which means he skip counted by 4 for the 3 rows. So let's do what Manny did. So Manny did 4, 8, 12. Okay, that's what Manny did and got the area of 12, because they said they both got the area of 12 square units. Okay, let's look at what Lee did. Lee multiplied the length of the rectangle by the width. So I explained to the kids which parts of the rectangle is the length and the width. So I told them the top of the rectangle, which is going to be your length, or you can do the bottom, because it's both the same, and they're both going to be the same thing. And the width is going to be the left side or the right side. Because I'm doing my skip count on this side, I put the width word on this side here. Now, if I look at the length, I could count how many squares I have, because the length is how long the shape is. So I would count how many squares I have. That will tell me how long my shape is. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 squares. So that means the length here would be 4, okay? And then my width is how wide it is. And when I look at this, I have a width of 1, 2, 3. So the width would be 3 units. So 4 units up here, 3 units here. Now, they say Lee multiplies the length of the rectangle by the width. So if I multiply my length, which is 4, so 4 units times the width, which is 3 units, this will give me 4 times 3 is 12, and then the final unit would be square units. Okay, so as you can see, I got 12 when I did my skip count, and I got 12 when I also did the multiplication, which is why the next sentence say they both say the area of the rectangle is 12 square units, and that's correct. They both are 12 square units. So it says explain why the two methods give us the same answer. Basically, we're using the same squares. It's the same amount of squares. That's why I still have 3 rows of 4, and when I do my skip count, that is going to be 4. So I'm counting by 4s because I have 3 rows of 4, and also when I do my multiplication, I'm still doing 4 times 3. So it's the same numbers. I'm using the same numbers and the same amount of squares. That's why we're going to have the same area. So because we are using the same amount of squares and the same numbers, we will have the same area of 12. So that's why. Okay? So we're going to go ahead and move on to the back of the sheet. The back of the sheet is going to be page 318, and it's the final, I think it's 2 problems on the back of that. It's a very short homework on today. So let's go ahead and go to that. So I'm going to have to get out of this page, and remember I have to erase this because it will not, it'll be on the other sheet. So I'm going to get out of this and go to the next sheet. And then we're going to zoom it in. All right, so this is number 3 for that sheet, and it says solve the problem, show your work. Okay, Marco wants to find the area of the rectangle shown, but some ink spilled on it. How can he find the area if he cannot count all the square units? Okay, so this is very similar to a problem that we had in class on today. Well, we had ink spilled on part of our rectangle, and the kids came up with the idea of, hey, I can maybe just draw my squares in and then do a skip count that way. So we can definitely do that. We can do the same thing since the kids did that in class. So you can either redraw it, or you can go over it in your book, whichever one you prefer. So I'm just going to go over it because with my marker, it'll cover over that ink spot. But if you're using pencil, it might be a little harder to see. So you might want to actually just draw another rectangle without the ink spot on it so that it's easier for you to do your skip counting. So I'm going to go ahead and draw my line. So I can see that the line started here, and I'm just going to go straight across. And then my line is also here, and I'm going to go straight across. And then I have another line that's here, and I'm going to go straight across. Okay, now I'm going to go here. This is one line, so I'm going to come down to connect to that line. All right, so this would be the squares that the ink covered up. Now all we have to do is count our squares so we can figure it out. because it says, how can he find the area if he can't count all the square units? So we can do this, and now we can count our square units. So this will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. All right, so this would give us an area of 20. Well, maybe you don't want to draw the lines in this, and you don't have to. There's another way we can do it as well. So instead of drawing the lines, we can again think of it as an array. So this is an array. I can see that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows. So if I have 5 rows, and then I count how many are in each row, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, I can do a skip count. So I can skip count by 4s because there are 4 in each row. So let's go ahead and do that. So on the side, I'm gonna put a skip count. So this will be 4, then 8, 12, 16, and 20. So, okay, again, I got the same area with a skip count as I did when I did put the squares inside and did the actual count of the squares. So any one of those would work. So let's answer the question. It says, how can he find the area if he cannot count all the squares? So we can draw the squares on the inside, or we can think of it as an array and do a skip count. So that's what I'm gonna put. Okay. All right, and I'm apologizing if you can't really hear me too well. We have cheer practice right here by my door, so if you're hearing the cheerleaders, that's why. But hopefully you can hear me as well. All right, so let's go ahead and go on to the last problem of the day. And of course, I have to erase this so that I can scroll the board up. So I'm gonna go ahead and erase this. I would hate to erase my skip count, but I gotta do it because I think I'm gonna need it when I go to 4. So 4 says check your answer, show your work. So they want us to check the answer to number 3. So if I check the answer to number 3, you can look at the drawing, and then we can do, we did a count of the squares, we did a skip count. So the other way we can check is to do the multiplication sentence, and we can do that by looking at the length and the width. So if I look at the length, if I go back to that drawing and look at the length, well, if I count the squares, I'm gonna look at my book because I would have to erase this in order to look at what I wanna look at. Or maybe not, we can go down. So if I look at the length was 1, 2, 3, 4. It was 4 squares long. So let's go ahead and put that. No, I'm sorry. Yes, 4 squares long. So I'm going to scroll back. Oop. All right. I have to scroll on my computer. I forgot. Just that quick. Okay. So the length is 4 units. And remember, we have to use our units. Sometimes they will give us centimeters. Sometimes they will give us inches. If they don't give us centimeters or inches, then the unit will probably just be units. And let me make sure they didn't give us a unit. So yeah, it was just unit. I want to double check. So then we would do the width. So let's figure out what the width would be. So for the width, we're going to count how many squares wide it is. So when I look at that, it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units. So that means the width is going to be 5 units. I'm going to put 5 units. So now that I have my units, all we have to do is multiply. We can make a multiplication sentence by this. Just like when we look at it as an array. When we do our rows and columns, well, we have 4 rows. 5 rows with 4 in each row. So we would do a multiplication sentence like that, thinking of it as an array. Same way we can do with the length and width. We can think of it as an array and set up a multiplication equation from that. So that means my multiplication sentence would be 5 times, and let me put my units, 5 units times 4 units. Okay, and now all we have to do is multiply 5 times 4. 5 times 4 would give me 20. And make sure we put our units. Now our unit is going to be square units. Okay, so the answer we got is 20 square units, and when we did our skip count, we got 20, and when we did our count of the squares, we also got 20. So this checks out perfectly. We got the same answer, and we did it 3 different ways. So our check is complete, and that is it for homework. If you have any questions or concerns, make sure you send me those through PBIS, and you can also just drop a comment in the box below. So I will see you guys on tomorrow. Kids also have Google Classroom now for my class. So I'm going to post the link in Google Classroom too. It'll make it a little easier for the kids to get to, so they won't have to ask you for your phones to look at the link from the PBIS app. So I'm going to go ahead and post it in Google Classroom on today, as well as send it to you through PBIS. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you guys on tomorrow, because we do have homework again on tomorrow. Bye.